whatever you do, if you were doing any kind of business deal, do not skip these steps in due diligence. Due diligence is so important because if you do some kind of deal, if you put money on the line, time on the line, expertise, resources on the line of any kind, or take any kind of risk, and you don't know what you're getting into, you might get smoked. And the reason we wanted to talk about this today is Ryan actually had an experience recently where his due diligence might have saved him from a major mistake or considering a major mistake. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about, in general terms, what you were looking into and what you learned and why it made you take a second guess.
Well, recently I had found a business that I was very interested in, a field that I had some expertise in, and also had a good network of people who were willing to help me in this area. So I pursued it. The numbers were good. I hopped on a call with a broker. We got through the initial back and forth. It was pretty cut and dry, and he had a lot of good answers to my questions. And I'll be honest, it was very easy, and it was very good. And I came off that call, and something in my mind said something felt off and a little too good to be true. So I did what I normally do: is I texted you, "Hey, do you have time to talk?" And then after I sent the text, I immediately just called you because I'm impatient. And you kind of walked me through some stuff, and you were kind of hit me back and forth. And I was like, "Oh, those are good points." I didn't really explain that. Okay, we didn't really dodge on that. And then after the call, I did a simple Google search, and it pulled up some very recent news articles and some very recent articles from both like news outlets and also legal offices of lawsuits and pending suits against said group and or company. And it was enough for me to read some of that stuff and kind of parse through what was going on and realize that this is really not a good fit for me, and probably likely they're in a lot more mess than they were letting on. So it gave me a simple, clear no to whether I wanted to take the next step of the call, and I was grateful I did. But we oftentimes see this happen with people when they get, a different amount of information, say whether it's the the audits of the financials, or just the brand, how are the employees, the business stuff running, and even like, hey, are the reviews accurate, are the reviews real? And I know, Brody, we were just talking about this a lot, but you were saying first and foremost, you go right to the reviews. I mean, that's something that you've always done with business that you worked with and ones that you purchased. You look for reviews, and you don't stop at just the first one either.
Yeah, and I think in general, there's a few broad categories that we wanted to dive in today, to just like the things that you need to look for in a business deal. And this is one of the first categories, just reputation. If you're looking into maybe joining some kind of franchise system, if you're looking into purchasing a business, if you're looking to partner with someone who's already in business, a quick search online like Ryan did, just to see, quick scan, see what pops up. You want to look for the bad. And listen, you might find bad and it might not be a deal killer. It might be something that you say, oh, well, you know what? I could take that with a grain of salt, or that's not something that changes the good that I see, or that's been offered, or that's part of this. But you'll at least know a little bit more about it, or you might find something that is a deal killer like Ryan did. So quick little Google search, look for the reviews. Things I've seen before, I've seen multiple Google listings for a business where one looks great, polished, curated, and it has a low amount of reviews, which on the surface level might not be the biggest red flag. Maybe the business just didn't prioritize that. But then you find out there's another Google listing that was the main one for a while, and that one's got an average of 3 stars, and there's a bunch of people mad at the business. That's very telling. It tells what kind of reputation they have in the local area. Look at social media, look at all this stuff. Other thing about reputation is you can look into past, say, business partners that they've worked with. You can look into court filings or things that have been kind of put up against the business. These are just different things that you can use to kind of suss out things that have been represented about the reputation. The next category I would say is the financials.
It's one of those ones where we see it all the time. We look on BizBuy, seller, or broker site. Usually what they're going off of is the last full year of financials. So you're getting a pretty good picture of maybe where they sat last year. But when you get that, let's say, like at this point, you're usually getting about 6 months. And that number isn't always some, close to or around what they were doing. And you can definitely get a good compare and contrast if you're dealing with a good broker. Or sometimes we've just seen flat out just completely different numbers. They'll bill one thing on the front page, and when they get their information, you get the actual number. It's quite a bit different.
That's right. And I think, and this is a general trend for all these categories we're going into here, but I think whenever you think that things sound good, maybe even too good to be true, but if things just sound good and you're excited about it, always go a click or a few deeper. If you're just looking at a P&L, okay, dig into the P&L, ask, why is this in this category? Why is this in this category? Are things missing? Are things not there? Are things possibly manipulated? And if you don't know what to look for, talk to people who do know what to look for. Talk to your CPA, talk to other accountants who might be professionals in that industry. Get a quality of earnings statement. Maybe if you're thinking of buying a business that you don't understand, if you don't really understand how the business model works, that could be something that's very helpful to kind of pack it apart. These are different things that you can do, but always go a click deeper and kind of look under the hood a little bit and ask more of these questions. If someone is, let's say, buying a business and they're saying, hey, the profit of the business is $500,000 a year. Okay, if some of that is in add backs or things that are getting added back into the business and they just say that, what are the add backs? Give me a schedule of them. Are these actually things that should be added back into that profit? Or are some of these things that are going to continue to be costs of the business? Are there new costs to the business that will arise under new ownership that are not represented here? These are the different things you can kind of peek under if you look under the hood. Then the last category I would say is just broadly people and situations.
I mean, we've seen it countless times, and we've experienced it where you go into a place to go and do work, or to be a consultant, or even to check out the actual site because you've gotten that far. And there is, whether you like it or not, I think I'm a big vibes guy. You can tell when something feels off, and that's truly at a human level. It's just a kind of like a genetic thing. You can feel in a room when there's tension, or when there's just everybody kind of seems off. And that says a lot about what you're inheriting and what you're walking into. If you walk into a place and it doesn't, it just kind of feels chill and relaxed and whatever, well, then you're probably looking at a fairly healthy work environment. But if you walk in, people seem on edge, people seem unhappy, people feel, if anything feels off, I would say first you might want to address that with the owner. Be like, hey, vibes are off. Did something happen? But more often than not, they'll go, no, it's just normal day. Why? No reason. And I think that kind of tells you the way in which they're working, which again, that might be, to your point, Brody, something where somebody says, hey, I can deal with some off vibes. I'll change the culture. I know how to do that. I've done it in a few places where, hey, that's great. Then that's not really a big issue for you. I think for a lot of first and second time buyers, having a staff or a place that has a decent to good vibe is critically important to making sure you have success in that first year or two.
You want to understand what you're walking into. Let's say something is represented a certain way. Again, this is just going a click deeper. Ask clarifying questions. If you're getting into a business deal and someone says that someone is a certain way, or is going to be a certain way, is going to engage in the deal a certain way, ask that person. Don't just take them at their don't just take the other person at their word for it. Because I mean, in a business deal, the thing that you have to understand, and this goes for all of it, but the thing you have to understand in a business deal is you are typically dealing with people who are at least decently good at sales, or have some natural sales capability, and they're trying to sell whatever they're trying to sell. They're always going to sugarcoat things or make them sound maybe a little bit better than they are. And that's okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that it should be a deal breaker if one thing's slightly overrepresented or slightly underrepresented. But if something is fully misrepresented, then you want to be able to find that before it's too late. And, I've had countless business situations now where if I did a little bit more due diligence, could have saved myself a lot of time, a lot of headache, a lot of money, and ultimately just been better off. So in general, go a click deeper, do your due diligence.
Yeah, I think we've all seen these sorts of situations, and to a certain degree, some of us have even experienced them, where you see a situation, or you get into a business situation or with people, and you suddenly realize that you don't really know them as well as you thought you did, or the person that you knew for the last 10 years ends up just being a completely different person once the money gets involved. And like, to your point, it's not just the business, it's who you're doing business with. Even like you said, bringing them from the outside in. And you have to really put yourself first here and say, if you don't have the belief or the kind of fit for the company, it's okay to let somebody go or say, I don't want to work with you. I don't feel comfortable working with you. It may, they can take it how they will, but at the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. And even if you're not sure, go ask around, go say, hey, so and so wants to come work with me. What do you think? And if you're asking the right people, they'll give you honest answers.
That's right. Now, we do this show every Tuesday night, right around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully you learned something tonight about going a click deeper into due diligence. Don't skip these steps if you are getting involved in some kind of business deal, whether it be a business you're buying, someone you're partnering with, or whatever form franchise you're trying to invest in, whatever form this deal might take for you, go a click deeper. Don't skip it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.